Okay, I'm always starting off with a lateral raise variant. This can be any lateral raise, like even dumbbells will do. I just prefer the cables, it's much easier to set up and I can just get a better connection with my delts. Every upper session, which I have 3 of in a week, will start off with a lateral raise, around 2 to 3 sets. Now, if my delts were really lacking, I'll probably do another lateral delt variation at the end of the session, so that I will have like 2 to 3 sets at the start and 2 to 3 sets at the end, 2 to 3 times a week. But this is not really my issue, so I'm just doing like this 6 to 9 sets a week ish. What I really find with the lateral raise is that it's really helpful in warming up your shoulders when you're going on to pushing later on. So that's just why I like it having it first in every upper session. Now onto a chest press. So this specific chest press is very heavy in the shortened range, which is why we would like to have it at the start of the session. Because at the start of your session, your ability to be strong in the shortened position is highest. This is also the position where you fatigue the quickest. Now what you see is that I pause every rep of this set. This is just because I currently have a bit of a shoulder injury, so I'm just trying to reduce load as much as possible and make the set as hard as possible with the lightest load that I can. This doesn't mean that it's what you should be doing. I've been training differently before my shoulder was annoying. This really makes no difference. I just find this a lot more boring than just like really pushing and trying to get some weight on. But this is just what you have to do from time to time. So it is what it is. Now we're going on to a Smith high incline press. Now this could also just be a normal shoulder press if you prefer that on like a machine or anything, but just getting something with an incline to it. Now again, my shoulder is pretty rough, so what I'm doing here is that I'm actually doing a higher rep set first and then a heavier-ish set afterwards. And this actually really helps with my shoulder. And this is something, if you have any niggles, try and start with a higher rep first, and then you can do like a moderate to a heavy set afterwards. And you can like really feel a difference if you have any injuries. Now on to a close grip pull down. Now what I try and imagine here is pulling with my elbows instead of thinking with my hands. You should actually just ignore your hands entirely, at least if you want a lat connection. So when we think about training with our lats, we should really just imagine pulling with our elbows towards our hips. This is just going to give you a much better connection and it's so much easier. And this is one of the reasons why so many people find it hard to connect with the lats, because they're using the hands and they're thinking about pulling with the hands. But when you pull with your hands, it's just going to be a biceps you can feel. So think about pulling with your elbows instead, straps, so you don't have to think about your grip, and just really try and focus on pulling with the lats. Now, onto a chest supported row. This has previously been a T-bar row, which I much prefer, but this gym doesn't have that. So I'm trying to improvise, and a chest supported row is also like perfectly fine. I just don't find it as fun. But again, here I try to think about just pulling again with my elbows and just trying to get as much shoulder blade involvement as I can, compared to when you're training your lats, you actually want to like stabilize your shoulder blades and just like pull with your lats. But here we want that scapular retraction and protraction as much as possible. And that's pretty much the only thing you're thinking about. Now on to some tricep pushdowns. Now, one of the things you'll see with this is that it actually requires a bit of stability. Now, what I would do if I had the ability to anchor myself down with some weight. So if you have like a belt for dips or weighted pull-ups, just have that on and then put like a 20 kilo around you and you'll feel so much more stable. But I just couldn't find that. So sometimes I'll just do it single arm instead, just to be more stable and like you use a lot less load doing it single arm. But if you're someone that's strong or like very light body weight and you can feel like every time you're doing it, you're like getting pushed upwards, try to have like some weight plates on you with a belt. And like it's so efficient. And now for the last like back exercise, it's going to be a close grip cable row. I'm just trying to think to activate my scapula as much as possible and get as much like protraction and retraction as possible. Now onto biceps, we're doing seated hammer incline curls. The reason I'm doing this seated is just to prevent a lot of excessive cheating and to standardize my form. This is also just a lot easier to actually focus on your biceps instead of just swinging the weight around using your shoulders.